Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kristi. This episode is part of our sports series. If you haven't gone back and listened, we encourage you to start with episode 37 to get an introduction to dog sports. What are we talking about this week, Heather?
This week, we are going to talk about agility. And I, as usual, am super excited because we have a special guest. And our guest is Amanda McGavin. And we are so happy to have you here. Welcome, Amanda.
Yes,
Thank you so
thank you.
much for having me.
Yes, it's so exciting.
I'm so excited just to be doing this subject about agility because I feel like when you think of dog sports, you automatically think agility. And that's, I think, what everyone tends to think of as like, oh, you do dog sports, you must do agility. So that's kind of the default. And so I'm excited to get more into it and learn more about it because I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about it. I don't think I'm smart enough quite for agility. I'll be honest. I think my foster dog is probably smart enough, but not me. So, but I'm excited to get into it.
To kick everything off, we always ask people to tell us about the dogs that they live with. For you, though, I think that you might have too many for us to go through.
That is true. That
So
is
we're going to
true.
slightly modify your question. Can you tell us about a couple of dogs in your life right now and favorite things about them?
And maybe
Sure.
how many dogs you live
Yeah,
with.
how many dogs are you living with right now?
So last I counted, I have 10 Brittany. So I'm in double digits, but my whole family compete doing
Yes.
various sports with them. So they're all busy and they're all working dogs.
Mhm.
But I compete with 3 in agility that I train and compete with right now. So I have Glory, who is 7 right now, and she was my original well-bred Brittany that I purchased. And then I have Lyra, who is her half sister, who's 5 that I compete with also. And I have my first puppy that I bred, Cherry Bomb, who is 3 that I now compete with.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's been quite a road.
I mean, why not? A whole house full of Brittany. No, but you have a Chinese crested still in there, right?
Yes, I do. That's my daughter's dog, so I don't count it.
Wait a
no.
second. You didn't count the Chinese. Okay, so we're at 11. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's what happens when you foster dogs and
Yeah.
then you adopt some of those, they're foster failures, and you keep them, and then you get some for sports, and then your husband can't decide which one to keep from a litter, so you keep 2, and it happens that way.
Yep. But it is a good point because you and your husband are not only breeders of Brittany's, you are very active in the rescue community as well.
Correct. And I started in agility because my foster dog was driving me crazy. Cooper had separation anxiety. He would nonstop bark for attention, and I needed to give him something to do so we could live with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super Cooper.
Super Cooper.
What is it you love about the Brittany breed? Because clearly that's your breed. And then there's a
is.
Chinese crested randomly mixed in there. But what is it you love about that breed?
I love the versatility of them. They're athletic, they're smart, they're a medium size, so you can pick them up and go. The grooming's not too hard on them. So I do conformation also, so it's not too hard to get them groomed for show. And they're just fun. They have a great work ethic. They want to go, go, go. And it's just something my whole family's fallen in love with, the breed.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Except your daughter, who is the Chinese
Who
crested.
wanted a Chinese crested?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, and she was doing, if I remember, she was doing 4-H, right?
Correct. She did
Yep.
4-H conformation and agility and some doggy dancing in there too with her Chinese
Oh, that's
crested.
adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
It's a family affair. I love it.
It is. It is. I mean, and that's why we have so many
Yeah.
dogs because everyone in my family's involved with the sport.
Yeah. It's awesome. I think it's awesome. And you guys spend
Yeah.
so much time together doing sports and doing like these healthy, constructive activities. I think it's great.
My
Yeah.
daughter grew up on the side of an agility field.
Yes, she did. Oh, that's
So
so
in
funny.
addition to the the agility, what other sports do you guys do?
We do hunt tests, we do field trials, both horseback and walking, and we also do conformation.
Wow, that's awesome.
We have
Okay.
to keep the Brittany's busy or they get naughty.
Yeah.
Especially 10 of them.
Mhm.
Like Kristi said, most people do know if you say, oh, the sport where they run through tunnels and jump over stuff, and everyone says, oh, yeah. But can you kind of give us a high level description of agility and what it means to compete in the sport?
Sure. So agility is normally a 14 to 20 obstacle course that a dog runs with a handler using both verbal commands and their body movement to direct the dog to complete it as fast and as accurate as they can. And you get a course map from a judge in advance, and you get 8 minutes to walk the course without your dog to kind of plan the course and how you want to handle it. And after that, you get to go run the course with your dog, and you're just trying to do the best you can in as fast a time as you can.
I can't believe you've never done anything with agility, Kristi.
Do,
It's fun.
do you remember how long I would pause at every station
Good
of
point.
rally and be like, wait, you guys, what do I do here? Wait, you guys, I don't understand. What do I do here?
That's
Hold on,
true.
Lucy, just a second. I got to figure it out.
The one thing though, well, I guess you get to walk a rally course though too. I don't know. There are times I remember in doing agility that you are freaked out about the course because some are harder than others. But I feel like as you go up in the levels, you're sort of learning as you go because the difficulty is as slow as you want it to be, I suppose.
Well, I think people see agility on TV and they're seeing like the top level competitors and they're running as fast as they can and they're calling out verbal directionals and the dogs are just going and they're normally border collies or some other herding breed competing. I think if you go to your local agility trial and you see novice level, the very beginners competing, you would think, oh, I can do that.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it's
sometimes like
very intimidating if you just see it online, those top people.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, sometimes I see like the videos of the 20-year-old basset hound going through it, and I think I could probably do that.
Well, the basset hound.
It's like a 40-minute video going through the polls,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, if you're just watching Jen Crank or somebody like that
Yeah.
fly through, it's like, I don't know if I'm capable of that. But
Sure.
we had our fair share of whoopsies in the early days for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are like senior citizens that are running
Yeah.
agility, just standing in the middle of the course and doing verbal directionals, and their dogs just follow that.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, I mean, you have little kids, you have 9-year-olds that are juniors out there handling, and you have up to like 80-year-olds I know of that are out there handling. So it's become very diverse.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
did you say how many obstacles are typically in a course?
It's normally 14 to 20. So
Okay.
when you're starting off, it's normally less at the beginner levels. And then when you're at the top levels and AKC, it's called masters, then you're at 20.
Yeah. So what organizations have you competed in agility? You just mentioned AKC, and I know there's several others.
I started off in CPE, which is canine performance events, and I think
Mhm.
that's very beginner friendly.
I agree.
The courses are normally shorter. They're more forgiving. The judges aren't calling as many things on you to deduct points. Start off with doing the harder obstacles like weaves at the beginning level.
Yep. I think so. When I did CPE and started out with my pit bull Lucy in whatever year that was, I found it to be a very welcoming community and a very easy way to get into the sport. And I feel like there's also a lot of diversity in the breeds when it comes to doing CPE.
Yes, and I think AKC's become more diverse, I would say, when they instituted the Canine Partners Program, which allowed mixed breed dogs to register with AKC and compete in AKC events. AKC is starting to get a little bit more diverse as far as who you see in the lineup and running.
Yeah, but
Yes,
CPE
they just had
always allowed it.
yes, and AKC just had a mixed breed win, like major agility.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like a big deal, like the first mixed breed to ever win this agility, like the Purina Pro Plan agility,
Gotcha.
like the top level.
And Westminster Agility recognizes mixed breeds
Mhm.
winning and competing also. So,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you can have an all-American. They call it all-American. So you can have an
Mhm.
all-American. That's true. Okay, so that's great. So absolutely any breed can get into it, which we love, and they can be dogs who came from a breeder or rescue dogs.
Mhm.
And CPE also allows dogs with disabilities too. So you can be blind in one eye, your dog can be a tripod, and they can still compete.
That's awesome. So do they just then adjust the course for that dog, or do you just kind of train around that? How does that
They
work?
they don't adjust the course, but there are more
Okay.
tight levels, so you can
Sure.
drop your dog to a lower level to make it more comfortable for them to compete.
Mhm.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a good organization. And CPE at this point, it wasn't when we started, but at this point it's national.
It is.
Yeah, which is nice. When you started agility, you started off with Mr. Cooper, who was an adopted dog, and you said that you got started because he really needed something to do. Did you find it to be welcoming coming in with your adopted dog?
Yes, everybody starts with an intro class, and you're going to have a variety of dogs and dog people in that class. So you may have someone like me that was just starting with my very first dog, who at the time was a foster for me. And you may have someone that's on their fifth dog who's a seasoned competitor, but all your dogs are learning the same beginning intro skills at that time. So I found it to be very welcoming.
I love that.
I took Cooper to every foster event for like a year and nobody wanted to adopt him. And I was like, well, I guess at this point I'm training you in agility and you're going to stay. And it
Right?
was kind of full circle for us because the events that I used to take him to it was Reliant at the time, but NRG Dog Center held a big agility trial. And I used to take him to the rescue booth there to try and find him a home every year. And we would watch agility and be like, oh, that's so cool. But there weren't any Brittanys competing at the time there. And then it ends up the following year, we're competing at the big dog show in Houston with him running
Oh,
agility there. So as an adopted dog.
That
that's
is the
awesome.
sweetest thing.
Yeah. I
That is
mean, it
awesome.
really is. It goes full circle.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love that.
Aw.
So, what is it about agility that you love?
For me, it's the relationship that you build with your dog. I mean, there's nothing like having that connection. And when you get to the top levels and you got all the kinks worked out, you just feel like you're flying on that course. You and your dog are in sync and you're flying and you finish the course and it was all just a blur and you just have nothing but happiness.
Hmm.
Aw.
Well,
Love
that's the
that.
sweetest thing ever.
I mean, there's no other feeling for me like it. And it becomes addictive and then you want to keep having that feeling and you enter trial after trial after trial.
We have discussed how dog sports are addicting because they do give you that we could do better. We could do it better next
Mhm.
time. And also then that we did so great. We want to repeat that feeling.
Hmm.
It's true. It's true. And your dog is so happy when they're doing it that you just want to give them more of that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you are working together step by step to achieve this thing. So then when you achieve it, you're like, okay, now I want to achieve the next thing. And it's so exciting.
That is true. And AKC is very good about having like levels. So you earn a title after 3 clean runs and you get that certificate in the mail and you're like, gotta go for the next title.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
take all my money.
Mhm. Yep,
And
those
I do
50-cent
think
ribbons.
Oh yeah.
those things are addictive. I don't know why.
Mhm.
But I do like that agility is a little different in that you absolutely depend on each other
Mhm.
to be successful. Your dog needs its next command from you, and you need your dog to be able to decipher what you're doing or what you're saying and asking it to do. So it's a team sport 100%. And I know like all dog sports are a team sport to an extent, but I just feel like in the moment it's so much of dependence on each other.
It is. And you as a handler have to both be mentally and physically present because if you're not mentally in your head and on top of it, your dog's going to feel that down the leash. And when you get to the start line, you're not going to have the run that you want.
Yeah. We talked about kind of the course and it being between 14 and 20 obstacles. And that's a lot of things to memorize, especially, coming in. Are you guys able to see the course in advance? Are there any tricks to memorizing your courses?
So you get to walk the course without your dog for 8 minutes before you compete. And so during that 8-minute walkthrough, I always walk the dog's path. Like I walk over the jumps, I walk up to all the obstacles and down. I look in the tunnel to see what their view is going to be when they come out of the tunnel. And that's how I determine kind of my handling moves from there.
Okay.
And then after I do that initial dog walk, I call it, where I walk the dog's path, I then go ahead and walk the handler lines, which are going to be where I decide what movement to do, if I'm going to do a front cross or a rear cross, to guide my dog to keep them on the right course. And for me, I kind of look at everything as like straight lines. I try not to look at the numbers and be like, okay, 9, 10, and 11. I'm going to be like, okay, it's a straight line through these 3 obstacles, and then I'm going to make a right, and it'll be a straight line through these 3, or we'll do a circle here. So I try to view it as different lines on the course.
And
that's
not
nice.
everybody runs the course the same way. People might have different ideas. You're still following the same obstacle pattern set by the judge, but you might have different moves to get your dog where you need them to be at the right time.
Absolutely. And a small dog handler is going to be walking it differently than a large dog handler. So,
And can you go into that a little bit more? Like, what do you mean there might be different moves to get your dog into the position that you want?
You'll probably have to explain a little bit what a rear cross and a front cross, maybe, Amanda, would be helpful.
Sure. So we're guiding the dog with our, not only verbals, but with our body movement. So if I turn my body and rotate it to face my dog, it's going to cause my dog to take a moment to think and pause and realize, okay, we're turning and going in a different direction than the path we were on. If I slow myself down and let my dog run ahead to a jump and then cross behind my dog, then they're going to know that we're going to be turning and changing directions at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
So some people might cross behind their dog, but then you might have a dog, for example, who doesn't do well when you cross behind them. So you want to run ahead and be able to cross in front of them, for example.
Yeah.
And the higher level of the course you go, the more crosses and side changes you're going to have to do. So when you're just starting out in the beginner or novice level, you don't have to worry about that quite as much.
Nice. Yeah. That makes sense. So just different body language and body placement for the same, to indicate what you're doing next for your dog.
Exactly. And where you point your feet and your shoulders, your dog actually pays attention to that. So
man, that
if
is
your
the
feet
worst.
are going
This is why I'm not good at agility.
Because your feet need to be going in the right direction and your shoulders need to be facing the next obstacle that you want to go to. So otherwise your dog will get confused in your body language.
Sure.
I remember my very first agility coach in Pennsylvania. She would always say, "Which way are your headlights pointing?"
It's like, got to move your shoulders.
Yeah,
it helps. I bet you did not forget that.
Hello, that's like more than 10 years later. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Have you ever forgotten, have you ever gotten out onto a course and been like, oh crap, what comes next?
I think we all have had those moments.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And that's when you count on your friends to yell the next obstacle out to you from the sidelines.
That's awesome. So really a true team sport.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes your dog will look at you and be like, you forgot the course. I'm going this way.
Oh yeah.
That's true too. Sometimes they know better and sometimes they don't. Have there been any surprisingly difficult aspects of agility for you or your dog? Things you didn't expect would be difficult?
Well, I don't consider myself athletic at all. So I was always very self-conscious about people watching me run agility. And so that would get in my head and I would be thinking about that, like, oh, I hope I don't fall or I hope I don't look silly out here. So I really had to work on like my mental management, because if I was nervous and feeling self-conscious, Cooper would pick up on that. And that's when we would have zoomies around the ring because he'd be like, okay, mom's not right. Something's going on. She's nervous. So I really had to do a lot of work on mental management for myself.
Mm. Yeah, that's something to consider, definitely. Because obviously people are watching the dog, and I don't think I ever really noticed the handler much because I'm always watching the dog. But I think especially as females, we're like, oh, everybody's watching me and I know I run weird. And my right leg always comes out at a weird angle, like, and everyone's like, no, nobody noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. I think most people are like doing their own thing or talking to their friends on the sidelines. And unless it's like someone you're close friends with, they're not really watching or critiquing you.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
true. And most people are cheering people on. They're not sitting there picking them apart.
Right.
Yeah,
But I appreciate your honesty in that because I definitely could see where that would come into play for sure.
definitely.
Yes. I mean, I went to a mental management for dog handlers seminar to try and work on that before a big event because we got invited to AKC Nationals. We qualified and got invited. And I was so nervous just visualizing it. I was like, I'm going to vomit. I'm going to get to that start line and just vomit.
Aw.
So
But
I did.
the fact that
Here's
there's
a
a
snack for you
seminar for
later.
it, the fact that there's a seminar for it tells you that
Wow.
this is a common issue.
Yeah, you're not
Yes.
alone.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. But I think if you do sports, at least in high school or something, or you consider yourself athletic, you're kind of used to
Mm,
that. And for me, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I run like a duck.
yeah, I don't really want people to watch me run either, so I feel you
Yeah.
there.
No, I've literally had someone ask me, "Why do you walk like a duck?"
Oh no.
As an adult. Like,
Yeah.
we were both adults. Like, I was in my 30s and she was also in her 30s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
And when half your team is a dog too, you never know what's going to happen out there. There's so many
Sure.
variables, and agility definitely humbles you because anything that could happen while you're out there, it's going to happen. So that definitely gave me confidence to go compete in other sports because I'm like, there's nothing else that could happen that hasn't happened to me on the agility field in front of people.
That
Yeah,
is totally true.
definitely. Yeah, I like that.
Do you rely on practicing agility to keep your dogs fit and ready to go, or do you have other fitness routines that you do with them?
So because our dogs also field trial and hunt, we actually rode or run them off four-wheelers or off of horses to keep them in shape because they need to be able to run for an hour for that.
Wow.
So we definitely do agility to keep them in top shape too, but we depend on a lot of cardio work.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're basically already ready to go because of the competition that you're doing in other sports. They have to run an
Yes,
hour in field trials. Woof.
yes, an hour full out. So that
Oh,
means we have to practice running them an hour and a half, 2 hours.
yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's a lot of running.
It's a
Yep.
lot of running. It is. And plus we have to
Yeah.
keep our horses in shape, so that's a whole other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah. That field trial sport is get I'm like, that's expensive. You gotta get a horse and a dog and be fit and have you taken up
Yes.
running doing that sport? Or they're just too fast, you have to do it from horseback?
My dogs are fast. They are
Okay, yeah.
very fast. So I can do it off an ATV and they're still in front.
Wow,
Holy
that's
cow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like processing that. Oh my gosh. I want to come to your place and see your dogs run.
But also, like, man, can you imagine living with a dog with that much energy who didn't have an outlet for that? That's
So I have a
a lot.
treadmill also. I have a dog
Yeah.
treadmill because it does get hot in Texas. So we need to have something if we can't like exercise them outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you kind of want to speak to that a little bit, Amanda? Because we do have time. You are talking about a Brittany who is that's like a serious athlete. So when
Mhm.
people are listening to this, they might be thinking, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to do agility. These dogs are like, I don't know, I'm going to label and say insane." But that's not, you could do agility with any breed, and you don't need to have a dog who can run full out for 2 hours to be successful
Oh,
and
no.
compete in the sport.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Cooper was a couch potato at home, and he
Mm.
was fine to be a weekend warrior and run agility on the weekends.
Mhm.
Do you approach training then differently for a dog who is a couch potato at home, like Cooper, than you would approach training now with your Brittany's that you have?
Yes, I think if you're doing other dog sports, you need to like train and exercise your dogs for whatever the top athletic sport you do is. So if
Mhm.
you're going to field trial, I mean, you have to have that cardiac work in. I
Mhm.
mean, it would be risky and dangerous to them to not have them in shape and let them go run with horses because they're going to hurt themselves doing that.
Mhm.
Sure.
I remember you when you used to run with Cooper, you had a pre-run routine and you had a post-run routine where you were stretching and working him and preparing him for the runs.
Yes. So I think your average agility competitor goes to class once a week, and then they have a pre-warm up, at least 5 minutes where you're trying to get their muscles warm, stretched out, and then a post run where you're cooling them down.
Mhm. And I mean, I can think of a million. I can think of so many different breeds that I've seen compete at top level, and it's something that you can do and do well regardless of your breed if you think it's technically bred for it, so to speak. I
And
mean,
there are lots of people getting rescue dogs or taking dogs from shelters, bringing them to their weekly agility class, and they're successful at the local trials.
mhm. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, my Lucy was
Mhm.
adopted, and I'm not someone who's chasing that like super competitive level, but we certainly had a blast and we did good enough for me in the sport.
Right. And I think agility, a lot of the organizations do have kind of that party family atmosphere that makes people want to go every weekend. And the goal is not necessarily a championship, it's to visit with their friends, have a good time with their dogs.
That is completely true.
Huh. Yeah, and we wanted to do this series because like we want people to just get out and do more with their dogs and just enjoy them. And I like that it kind of has that party but yet family atmosphere to have both of that. Both of those things where you can do dog sports but also just be hanging out with your friends on the weekend and
Going to an agility trial is kind of like tailgating. You're hanging out with all your friends, you're having food, you're chilling, your dog's there. It's a blast.
yeah,
I mean, I think you make some of your best friends through dog sport.
I
I
completely
mean,
agree.
yeah, I mean, you get to go on trips together, you're traveling together, you see each other at weekend trials. It's a good time.
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, we met through agility in 2000, what, 11 and are still friends now, even though we're in different states. So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, the dog sport community is pretty small. I mean, we might be spread out, but we're a pretty small group.
Yeah.
And I like that there are options for people who aren't looking to be super serious, that they could just do weekend options, like just a class, just a competing in their local competitions. But then there's also an option for, oh, hey, we're a pretty good team. I'd like to go to California. Might as well pick up might as well take my dog and do a trial there. And so having that option to travel different places, it's really up to the individual to decide what level they want to go to. Well, the individual and their dog, obviously, if they're any good.
Yeah. Or just training and never competing, which is just like we
Exactly.
talked
That
about with
too.
other sports. You could
Yeah,
just decide that you just want to train this for fun and you never end up competing, which is, it doesn't matter if it really, then you're still building that relationship with your dog, which is most important.
exactly.
Yeah. So, what is a
Yeah, sure.
favorite or most memorable moment that you have had with your dogs in agility?
I think because when I started agility classes with Cooper, I wasn't expecting to ever compete. But then all my friends were going to the trials. into the weekend competition. So, you have that positive peer pressure. Come with us, it'll be fun. And I did. And then we ended up earning a Master Agility Championship. And I never thought that would be possible with a rescue Brittany. We started agility late. He was 4 when we started. So it just wasn't something I thought we would ever achieve. And so when we got that, you get an agility bar, like a jump bar, when you earn a championship. And when we got that bar, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. So for me, that was one of our best memories.
I just love that so much because you and Cooper were such an amazing team, and the love between you was so obvious. And to see you both grow together to ultimately get that championship is just really, really awesome.
Thank you. I was the only one in our beginner class that had no plans on competing. Everyone else had their goal was to compete. And I was like, I just need to get my foster dog a job of some kind to get him to chill in the house. And so the fact, I mean, he went on to earn 5 agility championships in his career, which just blows my mind that we were able to do that together.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Wow. So he ended up a Mach 5. That's
He did.
just so awesome.
He did. And we worked through all of his crate anxiety, separation anxiety. If I didn't have my head in the game correctly, he would zoom around the course. So I had to work on myself too and be a better handler. And we did it together. And so just, it was just incredible that we could do that together.
It's really
and the friends that we made along the way too, like people that I would never have met or traveled with. I mean, he brought all these people into my life.
That is certainly a very special legacy. Yeah. Aw, Cooper. If people are interested in the sport, what do you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they Google their online local agility trials and figure out like AKC, CPE all has, if you event search on their website, you can find a local trial and to go and watch the beginners so that you have an idea of what that looks like.
That is a great tip.
Yeah.
Watch the people that are just starting off and keep in mind that some of those people that are just starting off may have already have dogs that have championships, but that's a new dog that's just starting in novice. Watch them so you have an idea of what that looks like. And then from there, look for an instructor that you like how they treat their personal dog, how they run their personal dog, and to watch how they end their runs with that dog. And because I want to train
that tip.
Yes.
I want to train with someone that has the type of relationship with their dog that I have with mine.
Yeah.
That is an amazing tip.
Yeah. What was it? About a year or so ago, Heather, it must have been longer than that now, but Heather was at a show and put together a clip of all these owners celebrating at the end of their agility run. And some people just didn't celebrate at all with their dog. And other people really celebrated. And it was so fun to watch the celebrations with their dog because it just brings it all together. Like, yes, that's what I want, that relationship.
Yeah, I was actually in Florida meeting Trin's dad because he runs competitive agility. And I was at what would that be in Florida, Amanda? The AKC championship?
Invitationals.
Thank you. And so my friend that was there with me had this idea when we were watching all the celebrations and we were talking about we loved seeing how people celebrated with their dogs when they got to the finish line. And she said, "Oh, you should record a bunch of clips and put them together." And I'm like, "That's a great idea." And I think I recorded probably 30 or 40 ends of runs and chose all the best celebrations. And I'm telling you, I've watched it back and I get emotional because you see the love and the amazing partnership with these handlers and their dogs. It's really cool.
Right. And when you leave the ring, your dog wants to be celebrated and they should be celebrated regardless of what happened in that ring. When you leave, everyone should just see you celebrating with your dog. And that's what I look for in an instructor too. I want someone that has that relationship and celebrates with their dog at the end.
I love that.
Have you been able to find that pretty easily, or does it take some hunting for that?
I think you have to be willing to drive sometimes to find
Okay.
that because there's a lot of people that will say they're agility instructors, but are they
Mm,
the kind of instructor that you want to train with? Do they have your type of goals in mind? And I think
mhm.
not everybody wants to be like a top level Team USA agility competitor. Some people are doing it for a fun weekend hobby. Some people are doing it just because they want that relationship with their dog. So everyone has different goals.
Some people are doing it just so they don't murder their foster dog.
Exactly.
You know what?
Exactly.
And some people do it to build confidence in their dogs as well. I mean,
Mhm.
it is a versatile sport that way. So you're right. Looking for
Mhm.
the right instructor who matches what your goals are is a really, really critical piece. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I have goals within my breed club, which is why I compete in AKC because my AKC titles are credited toward the American Brittany Club. So I focused my time on there and I enjoy competing in my breed events.
Mm-hmm. But just like you said, you've competed under different organizations, and there's a lot of value in those organizations. For me, if I ever did, I can't imagine going back to agility because I have other sports I love more. But if I ever did, I am not a high level competitor. I would probably tend towards more like a CPE type of venue.
And I think there is an agility organization for everyone out there. You can
I
find one
agree.
Mhm.
that meets your needs and what you're looking for. And I know some areas are more heavy in CPE, some are more heavy in AKC or USDAA. UKI's gotten popular in the country too. So there's a lot of different choices out there now.
And I feel like nowadays it's much easier to be able to just Google like local agility or whatever than it was even 10 years ago because dog sports have become more popular. So it makes it more accessible for people.
Exactly. And also, there's a lot of online class programs for agility now.
Mm.
You can
Hmm.
do online classes once you have the equipment and homeschool.
Hmm. That's true too.
Homeschool your dog. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I would
And
recommend you start off in a class so you can learn all the equipment first before you dive into homeschooling.
Yeah.
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 And I do think that's one thing that is a little intimidating with agility is that it does feel very like a very intense sport. So for somebody who's like, "Oh, I just really wanted to have fun with my dog," there are organizations then for that, which is great. We want people to be aware there are organizations that focus more on just the family aspect and the bonding aspect. And then obviously there's more serious instructors and more
Mhm.
serious competitions.
Wow.
Absolutely. I think there's something about your first agility dog too that it just it gets in your heart and you're like, I just need to play this sport.
Mhm.
Yeah, that wasn't my experience. Okay, can I just tell you that I did do a intro puppy agility class with Trin. And because her dad is an agility champion, she would be a great you would take her, Amanda, and she'd be like Mach 20. I mean, she's so athletic and she's so smart. And I was like,
She is so
okay,
athletic when she runs away from me when I call her back
I
in the
know.
house.
Um, so I was like, okay, I said that I'm going to try everything with all my dogs, right? So I'm going to go do this puppy agility class. So I went and I just could not get into it. I'm like, this is just not my sport anymore. And I don't know what it is about it, but I don't think I got the bug. When I go to barn hunt trials, that feels like the old CPE environment to me. And I feel like barn hunt and dock diving are like my sports. So I think for me, I'm one of those outliers where it just didn't grab me.
Well, that's the cool thing. There are so many dog sports. There's something for everyone out there.
That is true. That
Yeah.
is true. Maybe I'll feel differently at some point.
I just know I always wanted to duplicate that feeling I had with Cooper, that
Mhm.
flying in sync connection. And I'm always trying to chase that with all of my dogs that I'm
Mhm.
training and competing with now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, he was pretty special.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did your husband start out strong into the sport world with you? Was that just you both jumped in with both feet, or did he see you doing it first and like, oh, that looks fun, I think I'll join?
So I started with Cooper, our
Mhm.
foster Brittany first, and then he started in CPE running Sissy, who we adopted from English Springer Rescue. So he thought it
That's
would help
right.
her with some of her nerves and anxiety too. So we were taking classes together.
I completely forgot that he started with Sissy, his Springer.
Yes. Yes. And then for field trials, I entered first because at that point I was not afraid to like embarrass myself showing up for things. And he saw me do it and he was like, oh, I can do this. Let me try. And so then he really
Ah,
got into the field trialing.
And
wow.
didn't you say he's a field trial judge now?
He is. He is a
Yeah.
field trial, an AKC field trial judge now. So
Wow. That's
we deep
awesome.
dive in.
Yeah. I love that's the only way to do it, right?
I love it
I
though. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes we have to cross over. I mean, there are times when I'm doing showing in confirmation, and if my dog wins, I need another hand, and he's forced to go into the confirmation ring and handle our other dogs. So we all jump in and help each other.
Awesome.
I know this is slightly off subject, but not. Something that I think that we don't talk about enough, maybe outside for outside people not in the community to realize, is that this may look like this crazy activity that we're doing and spending money on, and we joke about these 5-cent ribbons and whatever, but we are doing this because we really love to do these things with our dogs, and it's a lot of fun, but it's
Mhm.
also this like really, I don't know if I want to use the word wholesome, but this really healthy activity that we're doing within this community of like-minded people. And you really build this family. And it's something so special in a world that can be kind of difficult nowadays. And for me, when I have a hard day, if I ever know that I have a class with my dog, no matter how hard that day is, I'm going to go because
Mhm.
I know 100% that when I'm out with my dog or I'm training with my dog, there is nothing else in this world that matters or that's going to cut through that. And that's something that's really, really special. And it's really, really important for people today, to be able to just
Yeah.
go out and focus and forget everything else in your life. It's really, really something incredible.
That is so true because you can't train and be in your head.
No,
You
no.
Mhm.
have to be
Yeah.
there for your dog.
Yeah. And I've had some really hard times in my life where I was like, you know what? I don't feel like going. I'm tired or I'm not up to it. And I've gone because in my heart, I knew that I would feel better having that hour with my dog. And I was right, and
Mhm.
that's something that
Yeah.
our dogs give to us so freely. You know what I mean? Oh man, it
Mhm.
makes me emotional. I don't know. They give us that, and that's something that is just indescribable to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, no.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like they take you out of the negative world
Mm-hmm.
and make you focus and be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like not many other things can.
Yep. And it's
Yeah.
infectious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So I think that's that high you chase, Amanda.
Mhm.
Yes.
That moment where nothing else matters and it's you and your dog.
And your brain's quiet, and all you have to focus on is running that dog.
Oh, I freaking love that. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes,
No
thank you. It was so nice to
problem.
meet you.
Oh my
Nice to meet you
gosh.
too.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.